Happy Valentine's Day, everyone. It's a magical day of love. And as much as I think Hallmark tries to get us to buy all these cards and all these gifts for our loved ones, which is valid, this is a day to celebrate love for the ones that we hold close to our heart, right? But you also have to remember you are the closest thing to your heart, too. So I wanted to talk about this today about, like I said, these talks are going to be mostly about my journey of my magical past. So my first couple of videos are going to be mostly about how I'm changing my mindset, because the first rule of any magic, witch, mage, magician, wherever you want to call yourself, just a practitioner or worker, is to know thyself, right? So a lot of my talks lately are going to be about how I'm coming to terms of really getting to look at myself in a whole nother light, right? Because that's the whole beauty of the magical path. It's really like shaking hands with yourself for the very first time with new eyes. So I will say that lately at work, work has been a struggle for me lately. I've been in such bad moods lately, and outside of work, I exude who the person I am, and I'm confident, and I'm practicing what I'm preaching. But when it comes to my work life, I realize that I am a different person, right? And I've been trying to really meditate and do workings and talking with my guides about this, because this is a huge blockage that I've been dealing with in my life. And I think a good lesson is objectiveness and subjectiveness, right? And what links it together is the aspect of humanness, the individuality of being human. Objective, right, is looking at an object, looking outside of yourself, right? And really analyzing and overviewing something, right? Even with magic, there is no correct way. There's so many traditions, so many paths, so many different ways to implement and manifest something. It's up to you as the subjective person, because you are the subject of what you are going to be using magic for and with. So for me, at work, well, I'm pretty sure it's evident, on all my social media. And if you just happen to be a viewer that doesn't know, well, I am a trans man, right? I was born female, and I transitioned to be male. And in the workplace, it's a very male-dominated place, right? And I guess subconsciously, I've been trying to push away my own subjectiveness, which is more sensitive. And I'm a Gemini, I strive for communication, and I strive to be stimulated. And lately at work, it's been really slow, and it seems like the work has been unbalanced, so to speak, where certain people are getting like the better jobs, so to speak. And while people like me, I've been doing side jobs, which are still important. It helps the overall project. But in terms of the main core responsibility of the jobs, it just seems a little not balanced, unfair, which fair is subjective, right? And I guess, okay, well, with magic, it's important to be objective, right? And looking at what different types of avenues of witchcraft, magic, traditions that you want to undergo, right? It is important to analyze. There's always something to learn from which different paths that you want to maybe dabble in. But it's important to be subjective, to really pick and choose. There is no one set path. That's the beauty of it. You can pick and choose from being objective and making it to your own subjective, personal working of how you do things. And that's what being subjective is. That people are always saying, you are unique. You are cut from a different cloth. That's what you should celebrate, your authenticity, right? And at work, I realized subconsciously I wasn't. I was being too objective, and my subjective view of the situation, I just kept stuffing it in, and it was just creating inner turmoil, and it was creating resentment inside myself, which I've been working on my resentment and my anger outside of work in my personal life. And I realized that even though this isn't technically my passion, it's still part of my life, whether I like it or not, right? And with magic, you use magic to manifest and change your circumstances, right? And I think we get too fixated on, we need to use magic for everything, right? People just think of like doing a spell or lighting some candles and doing a working, and which they do serve their purpose, right? But you need to start thinking of magic. Magic isn't really done in just sitting down by your altar or with nature and doing a working in solitary, right? You can do magic in your everyday life, just doing mundane things, like the mantras that I was speaking of earlier. Well, I had to really meditate on this and talk to my guides about it. And what my problem was is I was being too objective, because this thing that's been bothering me, well, of course, naturally humans, they want to seek out what others think, right? Most people are so fixated on what others think. We're always comparing ourselves to others. That's being objective. But, so I was doing this at work, right? And I was like, man, this is really bothering me. How do you feel about it, right? Totally dismissing how I felt as an individual. And of course, these guys were saying, oh, it doesn't really bother me. Work is work. I'm going to get the job done. But for me, I was like, no, work is not just work. I want to be just important as the other guy who's doing this job. I want to be a part of it. And the other guys were like, oh, you're taking it too personally. It's just work, right? And I think with me just being a trans man and working with cisgender men, I kind of internalized that, and I feel like I need to fit in with them. I'm trying to blend in with them and their ways of thinking. I'm like, oh, I guess guys just always think like this. And I just kind of brushed it off, right? And another thing is that Mercury is in retrograde right now. I don't know how many people are into astrology. I'm still dipping. That's another avenue that I want to incorporate. I am being objective, looking at astrology, and I'm going to kind of mesh it in with my subjectiveness and making it into my own craft. So I do know that Mercury's in retrograde right now, and Mercury is actually in charge of my sign, the Gemini, and it's in charge of communication, right, and creativity. So it kind of makes sense that my communication has been blocked, right? Instead of me going up to my lead technician, my boss, and explaining how I feel, I just kept cutting off all communication, right? And that's another thing I've been actually wanting more, is communication throughout our team. We don't really have team meetings anymore. It's kind of like a free-for-all grab. Whoever just picks up whatever and starts doing it. And so I was meditating and talking to my guides yesterday, and they were telling me, hey, you're growing. We can see your growth. But if you don't implement these growths at your work, you're just going to be stagnant, right? Because work is a part of your life. And so all this kinetic energy that I've been doing in my personal life, even doing these videos and trying to grow and evolve, I needed to do that with work. And sometimes it's scary to do something different because, I've been working on my confidence outside of work, but I have not been doing it at work. So it's a little scary, but that's what scary is. Fear is just the other spectrum of excitement, right? Something new. So today, I decided to put it in my own hands, right? I went to work. I assessed the floor, saw all what projects that needed to be done for the day, wrote them down. When all the rest of the team came onto the floor, I didn't delegate, right? That's not up to me. I'm not the boss. I just let them know, hey, this is what I saw that's on the floor. I'm going to go ahead and just do this. What do you want to do? And for some reason, it just helped me, my subconscious, knowing that I took control of the situation instead of just letting it control me, instead of just sitting and pouting about it. And then I actually took my lead tech aside and just told him how I felt, even if I was scared that I might look like a little whiny, sensitive crybaby. And it actually worked out great. He was like, "No, I want you to bring it up if you feel like the work is being a little unbalanced on some jobs that are not as desirable. I want you to bring them up to me." So, yeah, I guess this video is like, it's important to be objective, to look to others and to look in other avenues of things, but do not forget the celebration of the self, right? Of being subjective, you being the subject of what you're seeking. So, yes, do be objective, right? Look to see what others are thinking, but do not make it your reality. You have to be conscious in knowing that they are just opinions from another human. Humanity is subjective, right? And when we're outwardly being objective on other people's subjectives, we have to remember to be true to our own authentic selves of our subjectivity. So this is just my little Valentine's Day video of the day. I hope you spend it with a loved one, and if you even don't have a loved one, guess what? You do. It's yourself. All right, guys, have a great day. Blessed be.